This is a really wonderful moment for me. I've been involved with Kathy Foley's book for a really long time, and it's a really exciting book. And through the efforts of a number of Kathy's classmates, as well as her dear friend Edna, and just the beautiful writing that Kathy has put together. Kathy's book, Remember, is out. So I'll read my little blurb that I wrote on the back of it, and then welcome Kathy up to read a little passage from it. Written from the perspective of two newborns in intimate conversation with each other, Kathy Foley's book has given us the chance to experience what the world before birth might be like. From their terrors in the neonatal intensive care unit to the floaty place where they came from and may want to return. Jennifer and Joshua render a view on human existence I have never seen before in literature of any kind. This is true. But what really left me in awe about this book is Kathy's ability to switch seamlessly from the infant's narratives to the interior worlds of their worried parents, or to the absurdities and passions of the nurses' working class lives. And Kathy worked for 25 years or more in the I learned this working with neonatal intensive care unit, also known as the NICU, at Stanford, but she also studied, I just learned this, Weimar period literature in Vienna, Germany, and Paris. And she's a fabulous writer, and I want you to give her your love. Come on up, Kathy.
Jennifer could remember all of her lives, all the way back, but all I can remember is floating, sometimes in the air and sometimes in the water. When I was in the air, I could feel the wind and the rain coming down, and then the light would roll away and I could see the stars. "Maybe you were a tree, Josh," Jennifer said one day. "Yeah," I said, "maybe I was." When I was in the water, it was dark, but I couldn't see any stars. Most of the time I was dreaming about being in the air. Then I started hearing voices, the same ones all the time. They talked to me and put their hands close. Now I know it was Mommy and Mama. And there were two other voices, one on each side. And they would press up against me and sing songs to me, and then we'd all go to sleep. Sometimes I think I was floating in the air and in the water at the same time. And I remember music. There was always music. First the wind, then the ocean, then the drum, and Mommy singing all around me. And I felt like all I had to do was nothing. But then there was a bright light and I was falling, and it was cold. My arms went out to try to grab onto something, but there was nothing there. I opened my mouth wide to try to breathe, but there was no air, no water, and I was afraid. After that, I don't remember anything except the big hands. They were blue, and they threw me on a table and stuck sharp things in me and shoved things down my throat. There were machines all around me. I wanted to go back to the floaty place, and they gave me medicine to help me go there, but then they tied me down with wires and tape so I couldn't go. Then I smelled Mommy and I heard her voice. I grabbed onto her finger and held on as tight as I could. Most of the time, I tried to stay floating in the air, but there were no stars, and I couldn't find the wind or the rain, and the big hands kept pulling me back into the bright, loud place. Now I know that it's the machines and the bells that make all the scary noises, but back then I didn't know anything, not even how to breathe. Jennifer had told me about the masks, but I still wasn't ready when they came for me. They turned the lights up as bright as they would go. Even Carol put a mask on, and her eyes looked sad when you couldn't see her mouth. She made my walls go down so I was lying flat on my back on the open table. If I turned my head, which was not easy, I could see Jennifer sitting up in her seat. She was not moving and she was not making a sound. Her eyes looked afraid, but I was even more afraid. They came right to my table. They ignored everything else, except one of them looked at Jennifer and said, "Oh my God, this kid is still alive?" They crowded around my table and they tried to push Carol out of the way, but she hit one of them with her elbow and moved in closer. "You might want me to stick around," she said. You could see her mask moving in and out. Her eyes looked angry now. "I can be helpful." She held up a syringe. "Do you want to do this the hard way or the easy way? 0.01 milligrams of morphine is what we usually give. You just need to write the order." I didn't think it could get any brighter, but then another light came on, close and big. I tried with everything I had to turn away from it, but then I started to get floaty. I could still feel the tape and the wires, and I could feel the hands tying me down. Then I could hear the other voices. They wanted me to come. Don't forget to come back, Josh. Jennifer sounded far away. Sometimes Jennifer and I would go out together just to make Carol mad. Jennifer could turn blue real easy, and I was always forgetting to breathe anyway. What if we go too far and we can't come back? I asked her. Oh, they won't let us go all the way, Josh, she said. That's what all the tape and wires are for. That stuff is holding us in. We'd start out fast down the long tube, and it was dark and narrow, but when we put our hands out to touch the edge, there was nothing there. Our fingers got all tingly, and then we jumped out into the starry night, and at first we could hear them. The voices, they wanted us to come, and we got closer and closer, and they got louder and louder, and we were almost there. Deep breath, ha ha ha. Jennifer came swooping past me, and I thought she hit me hard on the back, but it wasn't her. It was a big blue hand. It was hitting me on the back, and I was coughing and hiccuping. The bells were ringing, and the very bright light was on. Jennifer was sitting in her seat at the bottom of her crib. Carol was pressing new wires hard on Jennifer's chest. I could see Jennifer's big long scar. Leave these alone, you little brat. Carol shoved a pacifier into Jennifer's mouth, turned around and walked away. Jennifer spat it out through the bars of her crib and onto the floor. Fuck you, Carol. Fuck you, Carol, she said to Carol's back. Jennifer, that is a dangerous game, I said. I was still a little out of breath, but at least I was breathing. I'm not playing, Josh, she said. I'm practicing. That way they won't be able to catch me. She started picking at her dressing. I'm going to find a way out of here, Josh. Carol will help me. She always does. Every time I do it, she goes all crazy at the last minute, trying to get me to stay, but she just never remembers. Carol merged onto the freeway just as the Ativan was coming on. She inhaled through her nose, exhaled through her mouth, and leaned her head back. There was almost no traffic, just big trucks, and the sky was starting to get light over to the left. Carol put on the Dead channel. They were playing Working Man's Dead, the entire album, Carol's all-time favorite. She took another deep breath and let the soft wave of the tranquilizer pick her up and set her down and wash it away, and with it went all her angst. And I'm angst-free, she said out loud, and I'll make it through my day. Thanks to the little sturdy-weaker whose mom smoked crack, who needs low-dose Ativan to keep him from climbing the walls of his isolette. Carol always gave him his dose, maybe even a tiny bit extra to make sure he stayed quiet to the end of her shift. But instead of disposing of what remained in front of a witness, Carol always found a way to go behind a wall or around a corner and call over her shoulder, I'm wasting this, and she would put the vial in her scrubs pocket, then transfer it to her purse and then take it home and line it up with the other ones in the back of the drawer of her bathroom. The baby was tiny, less than 3 pounds, so that left almost a full vial for Carol with each dose. Every 4 hours for a 12-hour shift, that was 3 vials a day for Carol. Carol had always loved her substances. When she was a deadhead, so young, so long ago, she would tear off a corner of blotter acid with her teeth every morning and wash it down with black coffee, then smoke weed and then get started with her day. Carol moved into the fast lane. She put on cruise control. Casey joined you better watch that speed. 65 was legal. Carol basked in the glow of the Ativan. She looked in the rearview mirror, and there he was, behind the wheel of the Prius, right behind her. Hey, Jerry, she lifted her hand in a wave. He didn't wave back, but he smiled and nodded. Carol turned up the volume. She opened her mouth wide. And you know that notion just crossed my mind. The car practically drove itself. All Carol had to do was hold on. One day, Jennifer was sitting up in her crib trying to get the tape off her cheeks so she could pull her tube out. Mommy and Mama had gone away and left my machine on. Jennifer, I said, I can hear the wind. It's blowing inside my machine, Jennifer. Josh, the only wind here comes out of Carol's ass. We made all our bells ring and we were laughing so hard. Carol came stomping over and punched every button to make it all stop. Cut it out, you two. She turned away and farted. That just started us up again. See, said Jennifer, I told you. Jennifer wasn't afraid of Carol, but I was. Her fingers were hard, and a bad smell came off them, and they moved fast. I always felt like she might drop me or throw me against the wall of my box. Nothing like that ever happened, but I always felt like it might. The good thing was her fingers didn't come in that often, only when they had to. Hey, Josh, said Jennifer, watch this. She pulled off all her wires. Her bells started ringing again. Across the room, Carol slammed down her cup, stood up, and came back over. She turned the bells off again, this time gentle. She leaned in close to Jennifer. "You little shit," she whispered. Her eyes kept looking at Jennifer's eyes, but her head was wagging back and forth, real slow. I had to be very careful not to make my bells ring again. Carol went away and came back dragging a swing. She laid Jennifer down flat on her bed. She took some of Jennifer's socks and put them on her hands and straightened her arms down against her sides. "You're not pulling that tube out today," said Carol. Then she wrapped a blanket so tight around Jennifer that she couldn't move. She lifted her out of the crib and strapped her into her swing. She stuck a pacifier in Jennifer's mouth and took a blanket, put it around her face like a mask to hold the pacifier in. She held it and she tied it tight behind her neck. Jennifer had a hat on, so all you could see were her eyes. "Make it go fast, Carol," she said, except I almost couldn't understand because the pacifier was in her mouth. Carol pushed the button and started the swing and walked away. Jennifer turned her head and spat the pacifier onto the floor. Her hat fell down over her eyes, but she didn't care. The swing was going so fast that one of the legs kept lifting up off the floor. Jennifer's wires were flying all over the place. She was already getting her hands free. "I want to swing too," Jennifer said. I said, "but maybe not that fast." "You're still too little, Josh." She was almost out of breath. "You need to get bigger before you can swing. Right now, you'd fall through the hole, bam, right onto the floor. Then think what Carol would do." Thank you.